Welcome to GNGF Live, your bi-weekly Ask the Experts about all things law firm marketing and business growth. I'm Mark Homer, author of Online Law Practice Strategies and founder of Get Noticed, Get Found. On this show, we focus on the business side of growing and running your law firm. So I'm really excited today to have today's guest, John Strohmeyer, who's the founder of Strohmeyer Law and host of 5 Star Counsel. It's a podcast about improving the way your law practice interacts with your clients. As always, be sure to like and subscribe to our page, not just the video, so you can get updated when our next episode goes live. And of course, it never hurts for you to show just a little love, and go ahead and hit that like button on the video too. It really does help a lot with the algorithms. We've got moderators in the chat, so please ask questions and interact at any time during the premiere. And if you're watching this in the future, after the premiere, we do monitor the comments, and of course, we'll reach out to our guests and answer any follow-up questions you have. It's because we love you all, and we love getting to meet you online and in person. You can find a list of our upcoming webinars, CLEs, and all of our other events where we're going to be speaking on our website at gnGF.com/events. And we have an extensive library of videos, including extended interviews, our in-depth GNGF tips series, as well as a full workshop replays on topics like building a better legal lead funnel, and so much more over on our YouTube channel. You can watch those videos and even download the free legal lead funnel workbook, well, after this interview, of course, at the link we'll throw in the chat. All right, let's get to the interview. Hey, John, thanks for joining me today.
It is so great to be here. Thanks for having me on, Mark.
Of course. I'm excited about this because, obviously, you got a great podcast. I've seen you speak multiple times. I think the first time I saw you was at a Clio, maybe in San Diego.
Yep,
I think it might have been it. But the topic of, the client service and, law firms and, comparing them to like, Four Seasons and Disney and stuff. So I'm just going to get right to it. Why would a law firm, let me ask you that. What would a law firm built by like Disney or Ritz-Carlton, Four Seasons, et cetera, maybe even like a Zappos, right? Everybody's read those books. What would that look like if it was built by them instead of a regular lawyer that we would, go to these days?
Well, Mark, where do I start? That's the premise of my little podcast. And the answer is, I don't quite know. Because all of the founders of those companies, they went into something other than law. And it's important for us to go and look and say, all right, they have some lessons. They figured out a few things about service, and we probably want to peel off some lessons from them. But having my background of working in management for the Four Seasons, the issue I keep coming back to is what works in the Four Seasons doesn't always work exactly for a law firm, and some of the things will translate. We want to make sure we're taking the right lessons and not just the Four Seasons has high-end, high thread count sheets. Therefore, I need to have the best, most supple upholstered chairs because that's what service is. My driving point with all of this is there are lessons, but fundamentally Disney, Four Seasons, and even your local restaurant, they're in a different service business than lawyers. And so we want to make sure we're taking the right lessons and not chasing red herrings that are just going to lead us astray and get us to waste money on things that don't matter.
Yeah, I think that's really important because I hear people all the time, for example, compare like, Apple does this and this, and I have to remind people like, look, you're not going to be Apple. Like it's like there are just some things that some brands get to do and have and are that you don't have to copy, right? But there are things that they do that you could pick up on, right? And so, you on your podcast, you've dozens and dozens of episodes now, right? So, through talking to a lot of people and a lot of the thinking and the work you've been doing, even in your own firm, what are like 3 things that lawyers should do like right now to improve their customer service?
So there are so many things, and of course the lawyer answer is it's going to depend.
Of course.
Thing number 1 is, you've got to define what the needle is you're going to be moving for your clients. You've got to figure out how do you help people, because it's not going to be a simple answer of, I'm a tax and estate planning attorney. The needle I move for clients is helping them resolve messes after they've passed. I want people thinking about it in that sense, because once you start thinking about, well, how do I actually help my clients? What am I actually doing? Clients don't come to me for a will or a trust agreement. They don't care about a particular document. What they care about is when they go, they're avoiding some mess. The problem is they know this kind of the simple and easy solution for them is get a will, maybe a trust. Let me do some research and, oh, the internet tells me I need to get a will. Okay, well, that's it. My job is I've got to convince them here's the bigger problem from just having a will or not thinking about this more. But when we bring it back to more general advice for lawyers, we're figuring out what do clients really want. It's not, I want to sue somebody. It's, I need some sort of restitution. I need to, adopt the child, get out of jail, or not go to jail. Whatever that is, and expand it a little bit more and realize you're there to help clients with a particular problem. Once you have focused on this is the way we help solve that problem, it opens you up and it allows you to figure out, all right, well, what do clients really care about? And then you can focus much better and tailor your services to actually helping clients achieve that goal.
Right.
So that's the long-winded answer to number one, figure out what you're actually doing. It's not just legal work.
Right. And I like the idea there, right, is that's going to permeate, like really, really understanding that and how you have this outcome thinking for your client. And that goes through your whole process. And you can work backwards through your, the way you work with the client, the way you work internally, what you put on your website, how you talk about things, what, everything through the process comes back to that kind of like outcome thinking.
Right. And that's the point. We just want to think, what's our end goal for the client? For us, no mess when you pass. Mm-hmm. So it allows us to take a more holistic look at what we're doing so we can tailor, well, they don't just want a mess when they die, but thinking about all the other messes in context of, oh, if they're in a car wreck, how is the hospital going to get their documents so they know who their medical agents are? We've got a way to solve that. For PI attorneys, it's not just get a pile of money. It's how do we get you recovered? And so we start there, but then we start thinking, well, step two, what's the next thing we want to do? When we know what that needle is, we can start figuring out what's the minimum we're going to have to do. So this comes into setting standards, kind of building out processes. It's not just setting out the process, but it is how do we know when it's done? Mm-hmm. This is the step. Know what it looks like to have this done. And most of the things we're going to be doing that increase service are not things you're going to go buy with your Amex. These are simple things like make sure everybody's smiling. If they're in front of you, smile. That way they know that you're happy to be there. Make eye contact. If you're on a phone call, obviously it's more difficult to connect with people. So the standard is still there of we want to make sure people know we're connected to them and we're paying attention to them. So how can we convey that we're paying attention to them? Well, the standard when I was at the hotel was during any phone call, because you're not looking at them, you're going to use their name 3 times because that shows you know who they are and it's conveying, look, I'm paying attention subtly, but it's conveying to them, this is how we know we have done our job. And so having that objective out there of that objective standard of use their name 3 times in a phone call. Sometimes it'll happen, sometimes it won't, just by the nature of the call. If somebody calls down and says, hey, pull my car around, this is room 304, I'm Mr. Smith. Okay, Mr. Smith. And you hang up the phone, you're not going to just artificially put in 2 more, okay, Mr. Smith, Mr. Smith, Mr. Smith, just to hit the standard. But the reason you're doing that is to make sure that they felt, seen and heard, even though you're on the phone call with them.
So that's number 2.
That's number 2.
Yep.
And then finally, the thing that I get graded on, or grades on me the most, is when we get distracted with not just shiny objects, but the real red herrings of service are things that don't help the client. They could, but this generally falls under gifts for clients. And it may be actual gifts like, oh, we're going to send out books to clients every year. We're going to do this giant spend. We're going to, engrave this or that. There's a time and a place, but it is rare that you want to do that for clients. Sending out something that's generic and unthoughtful, well, it doesn't matter that you engraved it, but as an example for me, I'm a cook at home. I'm fine. I've learned enough to get better at it and to invest in a high-end chef's knife, one that I spent the time to go find. If somebody were to send me a chef's knife engraved with my name on it, I would look at it and say, this is great, but I already have one that I really liked, and now I've got two. The sort of, yes, it's neat and it's a thing, but how has that helped me? And I understand, well, maybe you did this, but you didn't even see that I actually needed it. It's not filling a hole, it's actually creating a problem. So the point is, look for the things that are what I call red herrings, that we think we're spending money to enhance some experience, but it doesn't make things better for the client. You know, the high-end bond paper, as an example, clients didn't care, and we were putting, only the wills on the high-end bond paper at previous firms. The other documents, which were potentially as dangerous or potentially as cost savings or tax saving vehicles, were put on regular copy paper. And no good reason for that other than, well, we only put the real wills on bond paper. Clients saw these documents for 10 minutes once, and then they go in the firm vault and they're never seen again. It was one of the things that I cut out because clients didn't care. It didn't move the needle for them. It didn't make their plan more or less effective. It was just a cost that conveyed nothing extra. It didn't help the clients. So cutting that out was easy. And every firm's going to have their own unique things that, look, we can make our client experience better by doing this. We can improve our better line by not wasting money on that.
Yeah, it's funny. I just an aside on that. The bond paper and everything. Just went through updating some estate stuff, and I remember telling them, it's like, hey, so you guys take all, we got everything notarized and all that kind of stuff. Since you guys keep this stuff, right? They're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, great. I just want it, electronically, like the files I need, I can always print it off, right? I can electronic, and sure enough, they still, it came in the mail, in a big package and a binder and stuff, because it's that's part of the process, and it looked beautiful. But I have some, I don't know what to do. I don't want to put it on a bookshelf. I mean, it's not like something to highlight, and it's just like a waste of space and paper. And I'm like, can I shred it? Can I throw it away? I don't even know. But it was like, from a service perspective, I look at that and kind of go, I told you not to send me paper, right?
Right. And I mean, that's what we're doing with our clients now, is we send them home with a different binder. The firms I'd worked at before I started mine, we didn't do the leatherette binder, but I've seen plenty of those. I get them from clients occasionally,
Yeah.
It's a thing that is meant to convey, well, look, this is big and important. You should pay attention to it. But you're right. Most of my clients at this point don't want one more thing in their house that doesn't help. Sure, it's this artifact from, we did this once, but what is it really helping them do? And does the extra spend on that actually help them in their goal, which is no mess when they die?
Right. And from that perspective, I mean, just knowing that, one thing lawyers always have to overcome is this perception that they're expensive and I can't afford one and that kind of stuff. And I just wonder if sometimes some things that are meant to enhance the experience give somebody the feeling that, wow, that's why I'm paying so much. So.
You're right, Mark. We are expensive, but the problem is sometimes we're building in extra costs that we shouldn't. And it doesn't mean that our services can't be expensive. It doesn't mean that we're committed to billing by the hour. I mean, I've mostly dropped that from my practice because it's a service issue for my clients. They know what they're paying for up front. And we don't have to worry about that later. But ultimately, when you go to the Four Seasons, when you go to Disney, yes, they are ultimately delivering a pristine experience for you. But that backs up kind of the human level service that's there. It's the people who are delivering it. And ultimately, when you're going to Four Seasons in Disney, you're going for some combination of entertainment, pampering, and fun. You're not going to a lawyer for that pretty much ever. And that's one of the big things to take away from this is the lessons that you could learn about entertainment, pampering, and fun from Disney and Four Seasons. They're important for Disney and Four Seasons, But Disney doesn't view the lawyer as their competition. They view Universal Studios, they view, a 3-day ski trip
Right.
as their competition.
Right.
How can they make it more bang for your buck when you come for entertainment, pampering, and fun? As a lawyer, you're not in there, you're not trying to compare yourself or get in the entertainment market. So don't be focused on the things that are purely just for entertainment if you think the entertainment value is somehow how you're going to stand out. You want people coming to you for the service you provide. If we start getting into, well, I'm going to have the best drink menu, I'm going to have the flashiest offices, is that really the Google review you want left? We went to John and he solved the problem, or, we went to John and they had the best pina coladas I've ever had. How do those pina coladas help my clients get to no mess when they pass? I'm not saying there's not a law firm where that makes sense, but most of us, it's going to be a waste of time and effort.
Right. I did want to make sure I get this next question in, because I've heard you talk about kind of different components of the business. I don't even know if I have all the ones right here, but I think it's the physical, technical, and help me out. I think there was something else too on.
Right. So every business, the way I look at it, sells. Clearly they sell a product.
Right.
That product is a mixture of 3 different components. There's the physical component, so anything you can pick up and touch. There's the technical component, which is the learning or the knowledge, we're paying you to think about this, so we don't have to. And then finally, there's the service component. And the service component is just how the physical and technical are delivered. Think of it as you're putting the physical and technical in a wagon, and that wagon is service. If you don't have service, well, your room service meal is just waiting for you in the kitchen 8 floors below your room. It's how do we get it to you? So lawyers exist, lawyers and doctors and CPAs and engineers, barbers. We're all primarily technical components. People are purchasing us and our services to move the needle on a problem. And that's different than Disney, which is Disney and Four Seasons, which are primarily service component businesses. You're going there for, again, entertainment, pampering, and fun. It doesn't mean that Disney isn't selling the physical access to their parks. It doesn't mean that they're not selling we're going to figure out how to build these rides and create the popcorn and everything else. But primarily you're going there for the experience. For service businesses, or for technical component businesses like lawyers, we're here to move the needle, and we need to remain focused on the fact that that's what people are coming to us first and foremost. It's not how fancy our offices are. It's not how nice the staff is. It doesn't mean we disregard those service components, but ultimately, people are coming to us to solve the problem. Focus on that first. Realize that your service touches the adjectives and adverbs on how you deliver. Those come after your ability to stand out and do the work you're going to do for your clients to move the needle for them.
Awesome. I love that. And, if you didn't pick that up, I just want to make sure it's very clear, because I think that's a huge distinction John's making here. The point that the service, right, the service is not what you're delivering, but it's an important thing to wrap around it. But it's the service is what some other people are delivering. So don't compare yourself to something that's, delivering service as an outcome, whereas you're delivering, something for, a technical legal thing for a client as an outcome. So that's a huge distinction. And I want to make sure people grab that.
Thank you. Yeah. And that's the part that's hardest to see, because we as lawyers get lumped into the service economy. And so that's where this confusion comes from. Oh, I'm in the service economy. Who else is in the service economy? Disney and Four Seasons and restaurants. So since we're all in this same service economy, we must need to do the same things. No, we don't. It turns out people are coming to us for different reasons.
Right.
It's totally fine. You don't have to blow people out of the water and start off as, offering massages in your office. It may make sense. I could think of a case for maybe a PI firm where you're coming to us to make sure you get healed. you want to recover from your injury. If you're focused on a particular type of injury, that may make sense for you to have that service as part of what you're doing to help clients recover from their injury. But for me as a tax and estate planning guy, that makes just no sense. And if I saw one of my competitors add massage services, I'd look at it and at the same time say, like, how does that help your clients? Well, it helps them, relax and get their work done. Really? Am I the best person to offer that? Or are they going to be better served by going to their focused, the person who's focused on massages all the time and get it from someone they know and trust who's in the full-time business of that? Why come to me for your pina colada? There's a great tiki bar 2 miles down the street. They're going to do this all day, every day. Their costs are going to be lower. They're set up for exactly that experience in ways that I as a law firm just am not.
Right. So I think it's interesting, right? So I could totally relate to a lot of things you're saying here because as a marketing agency owner, right? I mean, it's a, technical experience-based knowledge level that we need to deliver great service, but it is an outcome, right? There's an outcome that's needed. We aren't delivering service for service's sake. And in fact, we've interviewed surveyed, clients over the years, and the things we've cut out by just listening and talking. And I don't know if that's something that you recommend, is just asking clients more and more, like, what do you want, right? Because we've done it where we used to send a report, in the mail. They're like, these reports just sit on my desk, this monthly report, just, stop sending it. And then we would send them an email, and then we get on the phone with us, say, I never have time to read that. Walk me through what's important. And so, and we were spending hours and time building these things that we got to turn back into more outcome-based work, not just reporting work, right? And we would build visiting clients, our clients are all over the country, right? And we'd build into the budget, visiting clients once a year or something to get a good sit down. And we found out that they're like, well, that takes a lot more time for me. That's I don't need that. The Zoom calls we can do now are great, right? And that's what they prefer. So, hey, that takes a big piece out of the budget and gives them what they wanted, right?
Right. I mean, when a new client comes to you, they're not coming to you for even PPC or effective meetings in person. They're coming to you because they want to get a 10-to-1 ROI on their advertising spend that turns into more clients, whatever those look like. Mm-hmm. Now, we can fiddle with the words, but at the end of the day, they don't care about your backgrounds, your Zoom calls. They're coming to you for the selfish reason of they have a problem, which is not enough business. Or, whether it's I'm barely making it or I see an opportunity in the market, let's pour gasoline on the fire.
Yep.
You are the shortcut. You're going to save them the time and effort because you can do it better and faster for them.
Yeah, it's interesting that by not focusing on just the service, which to me was they need a fancy report, and then because I saw other people doing it, right? And it's the more you talk to clients, like we just talked about, the estate planning documents, right? You have people who some want it, some don't, so you just listen. I need to wrap up with this question because we're going to run out of time on our Facebook portion. But after this question, do you mind sticking around? Because I have more questions I'd love to get to.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, so this one it kind of goes along with some of this, but I've heard you talk about lawyers. They should focus on client service, not their experience.
So this is a differentiation that just helps me frame things up. Experience and service are connected. Think of them literally as two sides of the coin. Right. The client's experience is a subset of everything you do for them, and it's a result of how you deliver it to them. So think of it as the client's experience is just what they see, but the things that we do to serve them, how are we delivering it to them? They don't care that necessarily we're using Calendly or HubSpot or whatever it is, but that's part of the service. You can't think of it just in terms of what are they going to get, because there are things that happen in your business that are going to be outside of the client experience. And if you're just solely focused on client experience, you're going to miss the other side of it of how do we do this? How do we take care of our people? How do we manage internally? that just, you can't let that rot on the vine. It has to be built out as part of your business. And so when I think about service, it's not only what do we do for clients, it's what are we doing to take care of the employees who work for us? Because ultimately, management is the service we're performing for our employees. And how do we make, the same way we want to make moving the needle for clients easy, we want to make it easy for our employees to come to work and get their jobs done.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, I'm glad you're going to stick around because we could go down all kinds of rabbit trails on the, managing and making, making employees understand your goals and where you're going and all together because, the better the team feels, service gets way better for clients. So. At least that's my experience. But since we're out of time, but I want to make sure everybody can, learn more about you and connect with you. What's the best way for people to connect?
2 ways. First thing, my 5-Star Council podcast. If you search in your podcast player, 5-Star Council podcast. By the time this comes out, episode 64, 65 should be start here. It's going to be a great place to really get the full encapsulation of what I'm thinking about and how I describe service from start to finish. Otherwise, connect with me on Twitter. I'm John the Lawyer.
Awesome. So started episode 60 something.
60 something. I don't know the exact number based on when it's coming out and when we're recording, but it'll be the one that says update/start here.
Awesome. But follow and subscribe and go back and listen from the beginning because there's some great interviews and great conversations on that podcast. So I definitely follow it. Excellent. So just stick with me for a moment and I'll be right back, John.
Great. Thanks, Mark.
Well, thanks for joining us today, everyone. Be sure to like and subscribe to our Facebook page so you get notified when our next episode goes live. We have new interviews about law firm marketing and the business side of running your firm here every other Wednesday. We're going to keep going here in the GNGF studios. You can watch the full extended interview with John Strohmeyer this Friday over on our YouTube channel. We'll be diving into a lot more detail about how law firms can improve their client service. We'll see you then. All right, thanks for sticking with me, John. Awesome. Got some more questions. Ran out of time on Facebook. We'll put this over on YouTube, and for people who watch it, I'll send some notes directly here. But one of the things I wanted to talk about was we talked about this service quality and client service, and focusing on the client service, not just experience. Is there any more examples you have around besides just like the 3 names, around service quality? And how you're measuring it, and maybe we can get into some of the stuff we talked about, like standards and having standards for service quality.
Sure. So what I want to think about and ask listeners to think about is we can't control the client's experience. What we can control is how we deliver. And if we have set out standards for this is how we're going to do things, you want to start with basic standards you can hit, but know that you'll be ratcheting things up slowly over time to make it better. So we start with, well, what is the standard? How do we know we've done our job? We talked about 3-time name usage in a phone call, but let's think about something that happens far more often. We're going to have a meeting with clients. What's our standard for the meeting? Well, we can't put standards on give correct knowledge. I mean, that's a plus or minus, on or off standard. You will either do it or you won't. But meeting to meeting, how can we set ourselves up so that we're conveying, look, we know what we're doing. We have done this many times before. This isn't going to be new. One of the things that I got from 4 Seasons and we do now is when meetings are happening, or we know some meeting is going to happen, folks aren't just walking into a conference room with nothing on the table. We know they're coming here to meet with us. We would like them to think that what we're telling them is important, and we want to recognize that because it's important, they may want to write it down. So thinking towards the end of, they're going to come in, we want to make sure they have thought about things, and if they want to remember it, it's easy for them. Well, the needs based around that are, let's make sure they have a pen and a notepad ready to go. And this would be in addition to any other paperwork we may want to go over with them. And we're not just having a pile of pads and a cup full of pens at the end of the table. We know how many people are showing up at this meeting. We should have places set for that many people. So I had a client meeting in the office, new clients, married couple. It's me and one of my associates. We had the table set for 4 people, not 5, not 3, not a pile. We recognized they were coming in, and that's how we showed, look, we know, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, you were coming in. We knew exactly how many people were there. And we were ready for you. There was a pile of paperwork of the copies of the documents they'd sent us, highlighted with our comments of this could be a problem, ready to go. We were ready for them, and we conveyed that, and it puts them at ease. Another way of thinking about this is, imagine you're going into a restaurant. You have a reservation for you and your wife. Mm-hmm. So a reservation for 2 people. They look in and say, oh, yes, of course, we have your reservation right here. That makes you feel good. Yes, they have my table ready. They were ready for me. And then they walk you to the table, and there it is. There's a little white placard that says reserved on the table. Great. They were ready for me. You then look a little bit more around the table. It's a 4-seat table, 4 top, and there are 4 place settings. 4 napkins, 4 sets of forks, 4 sets of knives. It takes back from the aura of competence that they knew what they were doing. Were they really ready for you, or did they just have any old table set aside? It's those tiny things of all they had to do was take away 2 place settings to convey, no, they really did have a table for Mr. and Mrs. Homer, not we had a table and whoever got here first got this one. It's really just silently conveying you know what you're doing and that you've been here before.
Yeah, and in that example, right, it also, in a remote world, right, if somebody's, doing meeting over Zoom, same kind of thing, right? You can send things ahead of time for them to, here's the questions we're going to be going over, and they can print it off. Here's a question. Here's some room for you to take some notes. Here's the agenda even, here's what we can. I think one thing that is an easy way to meet client service is to tell them the service they're about to get and just follow it, right? So having agendas, having processes. The Clio legal trends report, right, is for a few years in a row now has the data around. Look, we know that clients or prospective clients, right, want to know, how am I going to get from point A to point B? If you help me understand that, even before, I'm a client or even just researching it, they're more likely to become a client. Like, we know that. And, they're more likely to have a higher satisfaction if that's explained also in the first meeting, the second meeting, right? It's knowing where point A and to get to point B, that roadmap.
Exactly. We want to make it easy for them to know what's going to happen and how can we do that. Showing, the great part about setting up systems and processes and putting these objective standards out there is people will know what is coming next, so that if something goes off, where to jump back in and get back in line. Mm-hmm. I haven't worked at the Four Seasons since 2006, so we're 15 years on, which means I haven't checked anybody in or out in about 15 years. Well, the process for checking people in was almost drilled into me. There were 23 things I had to do as part of checking in. Would the guest experience all of those things? No, not necessarily. They wouldn't know. My job was to, one of the standards, open hand point, not one finger here or there, just because some cultures consider that rude. But it was one of the standards of, you're not going to unintentionally offend somebody if you make sure that you do it this way. The first standard was always smile. It's very easy. It doesn't cost you anything, but making sure you're always smiling, just so that you're a professional. Even though I was working in a hotel front desk, it doesn't mean I can't behave like a professional, even if I didn't have some pedigree and a license to practice in a protected monopoly. It was about how you conduct yourself and the seriousness with which you take your tasks. Behave like a professional. That's what you're there to do. So this is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to make sure that we consistently deliver for our clients.
Yeah, so once we think through some of these things and we start setting some of these standards and that are going to be for the client service reasons, how do you go about, we talked about right at the end of the Facebook portion, like team and managing and, like just that whole world of, are people following the standards? How are you measuring kind of like service quality, for lack of a better term?
Right. And so this is where, as the business owner, I need it to be easy for everybody. It's not just focus on the client to the exclusion of everybody else, because I need my staff to know what's expected of them, and it's not a surprise. So if I'm going to review a document, I've built out, and we're implementing now, a Typeform grading card.
Mm-hmm.
Here are the things that could go wrong in any drafting project. And if we can start as we start doing this, and as I'm reviewing the documents, we're doing it by Zoom, it makes it easier for my staff to see, all right, here's what I'm picking up on. But then I'm grading alongside of, oh, you didn't check to remove all of these special, we use asterisks as internal marking for, look at this. If there are asterisks in a document, it's not ready to go out to a client. And just knowing, if you put something in for me to review, there should be no asterisks if you think it's ready to go. If there's a question, it's a way to, do Control F in Word and immediately go to where the questions are. What we're doing, I want it to be easy for my staff to get their jobs done. I have no interest in hiding the ball. So the more I can set out the standard of, this is what a complete document looks like. Mm-hmm. If they know that going in, it's much easier for them to deliver that document to me. And they know, I'm not going to flip out if they've done all of this. And it's not that I want to flip out or even anything else. Like, make it as easy as possible for them to know this is what you need to do. And it's less, all right, well, it provides focus to their work of, we're here to move the needle. This is how you move the needle most effectively. For me, as your boss, as your employer, it makes it easy for them to know, all right, every week, one of my employees, the standard is engagement letters have to go out every day. If we get a new one for a client, because they get customized, it's not something we can just hit the button mm-hmm. and then immediately it's going out in any sort of automatic way. We are tailoring it based on specific consultation with clients. So that means it's generally going to go out within 24 hours. For our clients, that's fine. Would I like to have it out immediately? Sure. Right now, that's not there. It hasn't been the pain point for clients or the firm. So it's a lower order problem. But my staff knows, look, your standard is all those engagement letters have to be out every day. Mm-hmm. Like, there's no reason to hold back. And if there is, this is the standard you're being held to. Engagement letters are out and off to clients in whatever way within, effectively, it's 24 hours.
Yeah, and just a slight aside on that, that's kind of service quality because we're talking about team. Excuse me. I do think that I'm a big believer that the team wants to do the best job they can. Like they naturally want to. You don't want to go to a job and just kind of like not do a good job, right? Like that's just, that's not in human nature, I think. And one of the things that I find is that the best way to help that is what you're saying. Tell them what success looks like. This is what done looks like. This is what done very well looks like. We need to be in this range. People know what to do. But if you don't know that, every day I need to send this out, then if they send it out tomorrow and you looked and it's like, well, why didn't it go out today? Well, I didn't know it was supposed to go out. Like these things are critical.
They organize their work. I want to make sure they know, and we all inside the firm have triage lists. Like when you start your day, it is not open your inbox and put out every fire. It's here. You are going to go through your inbox, make sure there's nothing that's on fire, and then you need to go check and do these other 3 things because that's more important. Mm-hmm. Why? Get caught up, get the little things done. There's also a space for what are the 5-minute tasks you need to get done. If those get done, we don't want to do the bigger projects until we've got the little ones that are just, go tweak this. a 5-minute thing here or there, just get them knocked out so they don't build up, because inevitably those are the ones that are going to build up. And then you're just like, like things start falling apart when you can get those little, the Kaizen 1% improvements from the 5-minute project.
Yep. So the other thing on service quality, and I'm curious, like what you think about this is, I'll mention to firms we're working with, right, is reviews. Like we're always encouraging reviews from a marketing perspective. Reviews are good, but reviews are also something that don't just do because you want to get Google Maps and 5 stars. Like it's a good thing to do. Is like go look at your reviews and because some are unsolicited, right? I mean, yeah, the one you solicited probably should be a pretty good review, but go and looking at those reviews and seeing the common threads that people are saying are great, and is that matching some of the standards you've put in place, that your goal of the experience, right?
Right. We want to get those reviews not only because it's an outward marketing signal, it helps build up, SEO and all the other wonderful things that are good in the internet, but it's a good way to get feedback on what you're doing. At the Four Seasons, we gave out comment cards. Why? We wanted to know how we were doing. We had, we'd get results, we'd get reviews, we'd know what people thought. Sometimes they were not good, and that's fine because it's telling us where we're falling down. When we go to those reviews, we also want to see, well, what did people like? One of the things I did recently is I took all of the reviews that I had on Google and I put it through a word cloud generator to see what did people actually think? What were they saying when we were asking them to leave reviews?
That's a great idea.
And
it's a great
right. Idea. And it's, just getting it in their own words, sifting out, here were the top 10 words that they liked about what we were doing. It made it so much easier. And it was clarifying. It's like, good, these are words I wanted to hear. Helpful, intelligent, prepared, knowledgeable. Those sorts of things are what should come through. And part of our review process, we are prompting clients with specific questions to help Google understand what we're doing.
Yep.
But it also is leading them to use similar words. And so, it wasn't just the top 10 weren't just the words exactly as they came out. If there were similar versions, we'd kind of sift them together and combine, knowledge, knowledgeable and other knew how to do things, looking for that just to make sure we were picking up on the bigger trends.
Yeah, I mean, because for people who haven't really thought through, like what is my brand, what do I stand for, how do I want somebody to go through client service, looking at your existing reviews is very, could be, in doing word cloud, whatever, there could be some eye-opening things in there, right? Because the brand, as I always say, is like what people experience, not, some logo you create, right? It's the experience. So if reviews are the unfiltered, experience, reading your reviews, and I love that idea of the word cloud. I mean, that's kind of like, this is your brand, whether you like it or not. So, need to be intentional.
The brand is just the consolidation of what you are. It's not, the logo is what you hope it is.
Yeah.
The brand, as it, as the amateur marketeer, the brand is what exists in clients' mind. Yep. So it's similar to service is what we do. Experience is downstream of that for clients. It's what they get out of it. And it includes brand and all the rest of that. But think about, well, look, what can we do to set things up? And so brand is one distillation of their experience. Review is another distillation of their experience. It's not just in their head. You've pulled it out and put it into words and attached a certain number of stars on a Google platform.
Yeah. That perception is reality concept is just, I mean, the reviews are there for people. So I love, so having the standards, checking with the team knows what these things are. And then, using like tools like reviews. I love that idea of the word cloud, and just kind of like checking that are these kind of like standards that you're setting for a certain service resulting in this experience outcome that you wanted. I think that's great.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sticking with me longer than we planned to get these questions. It's been great. Appreciate it. For those who are listening, be sure to check out the podcast. This and a lot more is there with interviews and great conversations that John has.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Mark.
All right. Thanks, John.
Hey, what's up? I'm Josh. Thanks so much for joining us. If you feel like you learned something today, think of how beneficial it would be to chat with myself or another one of our marketing consultants one-on-one. Go ahead and visit our website to schedule your free consultation. It only takes a minute.